Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our C15 Release 18 webinar. We're delighted that you could join us today. My name is Lance McCall, the Global Campaign Manager here at Ribbon Communications, and I'm joined today by Lee King, Ribbon's IOC Design, Support, and PLM Director. He's the one visible there at the top of your screen. We also have Greg Goldemmer, the AP Max Voice Manager of Support and Development over at Innovative Systems. And we also have Rich Krazan, Ribbon's Product Manager for Analytics. So thanks to all of you for being on with us today. Before we get started, I did want to point out the Ask a Question box at the bottom right of your screen. Please ask us any questions as we go along today. We'd really love to hear from you. If you don't see that box, you should see a question mark. Click the question mark, it'll open up, and you'll see where you can type your question to all the experts we have on the call today. In addition, we do have a few pieces of collateral for you to take at your convenience. You can access those by clicking the document icon on the right side of the screen. So please feel free to take those anytime as we go along today as well. All right, that's all I have for now. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lee, who's going to get things started for us. Go ahead, Lee.
Okay, thanks, Lance. So I'm going to start with a couple of things here, and then I'm going to get into my presentation. One of them is, within Ribbon, we keep metrics on our case backlog, our arrival rate, how long it takes to resolve issues, things like that, and it's called a Ribbon Care Score. Another component of it is the survey results that you guys give us back whenever we issue a case survey. And consistently, the C15 has the highest Ribbon Care Score of any product in Ribbon. And I really want to thank you guys for that. It's a great partnership that our support team has with our customers. We really appreciate the feedback that we get. I share that with the team whenever we get feedback, and everybody really appreciates it. So thank you for that. I'm going to talk about upgrades a little bit. One of the components of Ribbon Care, one reason we can provide good support is because everybody stays on an active release. Right now, about 90% of the base of C15s are on either release 16, 17, or 18. 16 retires at the end of this month. 18 is available now, and people upgrade consistently. We really appreciate that. That goes a long ways toward helping us provide good support. A question I don't have in my presentation here, but a question I got just the other day was about stir shaken for TDM. This question's been floating around for a bit. The answer to that is that there's not a standard for it yet. We've got a Ribbon Care task force that's looking at it for C15, for C20, for the whole suite of Ribbon products. There are some ideas floating around about how it could be done. It's not mature enough to be implementable at this point. We can't write software to implement it because the standards aren't quite there yet. But I will say that what we have done with C15 with stir shaken is if you enable stir shaken when calls are attested, regardless of the source of the call, if it's a TDM call, if it's a GR303, if it's SIP H248, anything, we do attestation for it. Now, whether that gets passed on outside of your switch depends on whether you've got SIP trunks or not. But as far as TDM for C15, there is part of it is done, but the full picture is not complete yet, and that's because the standards just aren't completely there yet. I'm going to talk about the content of Release 18 and 19 here in a little bit. Question we occasionally get is, where can I find out more information about that? And in our technical publications, our TPs, if you go to the 105 section, and at the start of it, there is the release summary. For every release we've done, there's a short description of all the content that we've put in. That's one of my go-to places when I'm trying to remember where we did something in the past. That's a really good reference point. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn off my camera, and I'm going to start the presentation here. So regulatory updates. I used to do these back before COVID. I used to do user group meetings pretty regularly, and this was a big part of what I did, and boy, it just continues to be. We're getting all kinds of of regulatory issues that come up. We don't get notified by the FCC. They rarely send me an email and say, hey, there's new regulation. We certainly don't get updated by state PUCs. So our best source of information on a lot of this stuff is from customers. If you guys hear of regulatory updates that you think we need to be aware of, just send us an email. Let the task guys know. If you call them for support, they'll get that information to us and we'll take a look at it. So a few years ago, they came out with nationwide 10-digit dialing, mandatory 10-digit dialing. That was coupled loosely with the 988 National Suicide Prevention Hotline. There are changes required to the translations to support both of those. They're doable in any release we have. We think probably more than half of C15s have been updated to handle the 10-digit dialing requirement if it's required in your LADA, and to do the 988 National Suicide Hotline. I think that 988 requirement has moved out to July of 2022. I don't think it's in force yet. So if you haven't done those yet, you can call support and ask them for advice on it. If you don't want to do it on your own, you don't want to get a little bit of help from them, you could certainly buy a block of database engineering hours and they'll take care of it. Just a week or two ago, a customer notified me of this next requirement here, this New York State legislation for robocall and stir shaking starting on January 1st. It is available, January 1st of 2022. It is available on the C15. Obviously, you can turn on stir shaking. And as I mentioned, the picture is not complete for TDM yet. Another item that we got recently is this fourth report and order for advanced methods to target and eliminate unlawful robocalls. That's associated with the SIP 607, 608 response. I'll talk about that a little bit more. And another one is the FCC mandate 187, which is associated with an announcement when you block calls. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. So just a quick roadmap of how we got here. Yeah, the FCC had this March 31st, 2020 deadline for stir shaken, and then they moved it out. They added a 2-year extension to it. There was another opening of the database for robocall mitigation where telcos were supposed to register with that database. Then eventually it was going to get to the point where outbound calls were not accepted, and that was earlier this year. I haven't heard of anybody being blocked on that, but as of late summer, this was the regulations on this. And a lot of people were implementing, to meet those deadlines, we're implementing our call trust solution, either the originating call trust or the terminating call trust, which we did with Innovative Systems. So FCC's fourth report and order required ISDN user part 21. It required SIP codes 607 and 608, which allowed us to not route advanced calls. We put the changes for that into release 16 and 17 in patches. Earlier this year, those patches were sourced into release 18. Every C15 has been updated with those changes. So everyone should be compliant with that requirement at this point because of the patches that we've put in. We heard about this next one just very recently, just before Thanksgiving, about we strongly encourage you to provide, the FCC, we strongly encourage you to provide an announcement when you're blocking calls. So my team worked with Greg Goldhammer at Innovative Systems, and over Thanksgiving and early this month, put together a patch on the C15 to cause an announcement to be played if we block a call on originating or terminating. with a 607 or 608. Innovative Systems put a patch out for that to have the new announcement. We are in the process of doing our final testing on these patches. In fact, just this morning we tested one of the patches with a customer that reported this and verified that this solution does work. We will be getting those patches out in January. We'll be releasing them and they'll go out through the normal C15 patch distribution. If you need the patch from the AP Max for the announcement, you can work with Innovative Systems to get that applied. And there will be a configuration change required on the C15 to support that. You can call up the RTS guys or you can also get database engineering to do this. It's a relatively simple change. We put in a new route that points to a VDRA route that points to the new announcement indicating we've blocked the call. For the patches, we call that, we reuse the no CH route because we can't change the mnemonic for it in a patch. In release 19, that will be changed to ROBK instead of NOCH. All right, our life cycle for C15. I've been using this chart for years and just update the timeline on it. I mentioned earlier, Release 16 retires at the end of this month. We have put out our last patch for Release 16. Rel 17 will live for another year, and Release 18 went generally available on September 17th. It will live until December of 2023, and we are already in the process of developing Release 19. We've got our code base done. We've got some of the code in. We'll talk about a little bit more about the contents of Release 18. Just to be clear, when we talk about a release being retired, what that means is that we will no longer patch that release. If there's a problem there that needs a software change, we're going to ask you to upgrade to one of the active releases. It doesn't mean that we won't talk to you if you call up and ask for support. Like say on January 5th, if you got a problem with Rel 16, you call for support. We'll certainly do our best to help you. If it requires a software change, we'll encourage you to upgrade to Release 18. So Release 15, C15 Release 18 Plan of Record, again on September 17th, this went GA. As of this morning, there are 67 sites that have already upgraded to Release 18. We're projecting that there will be roughly 80 to 85 that are upgraded to Release 18 by the end of this year. You cannot thank you guys enough for scheduling your upgrades and letting us push this software out there. It really helps to provide quality support by having everybody on these active releases. So here's the content of Release 18. The Originating Call Trust with Identity Hub, the SIP code 607, 608, and the ISUB 21. I mentioned that those are in a patch. They were sourced in Release 18. We did interop with Identity Hub to make sure that works. For the Originating Call Trust, for Terminating Call Trust, we've continued to work with Identity Hub and with AP Max. So those two, the Originating Call Trust was a mandate. The Terminating Call Trust is something that you should probably do just to get improved customer satisfaction, because that goes a long ways toward blocking nuisance calls that are being delivered to your customers. The new content we added in 18 is improved H248 gateway handling during migrations. That feature was where we migrated a switch that had a lot of H248 gateways, and because of the algorithm we used to bring in those lines in service, it took longer to come for that gateway to come, or those gateways to come into service than we would like. So during a migration, we've reworked the code to where we bring those into service much more quickly than we did before. Multi-ring group feature, this was a customer request. And the idea behind this is they wanted the ability to present a call to up to 20 SIP lines at the same time to enhance their hosted business group feature, so we put that in for them. The next one was the caller ID enhancement for attended transfer. That's the option to update, use a SIP update method with the message with the p-asserted identity header to change the originating calling party ID. Another support for unattended transfers. That feature allows the C15 to handle a transfer via a refer message for both attended and blind transfers. Hunt group queue enhancement. This was a question customer or a request from a customer to provide an instantaneous view of how many lines are in it, how many calls are in a hunt group queue at any one time. So it's a resident command, you can go and find that out. Sync 180 enhancement for RPMs. This was basically what we did is suppress an alarm, a Sync 180 alarm at a remote port module site when the remote port module is using a bits clock, which is what we recommend, but we were still putting out this alarm saying that our clock signal from the host to the remote wasn't as good as we would like. Well, we weren't actually using that. We were using their bits clock, so we suppressed that alarm. Basically, this makes the system look cleaner. And as with every release we do, we continue to do interop with other products within the Ribbon portfolio. So this time we did a lot of work with Rich Krazan's group. He's going to be talking a little bit later about analytics, but we worked with his group with our C15 lab and did Ribbon Analytics. We continued to work with the Identity Hub group, the PSX group, to as they're making changes to those products to make sure they work with the C15. We had one of our salespeople said that a customer wanted to put out, start using this Meta Unified Communications platform. They asked us if we would do some interop with that. What we did is set up a portal where they could get into one of our switches and do the testing. It worked remarkably well. It took probably 4 or 5 days for them to do the testing that they wanted to do. So we have worked with that product at this point. So that's our plan of record for Release 18, content we've got out there. We are working on Release 19. We will plan a Q4 2022 GA. Haven't settled on the exact date yet, but it will probably be in Q4. This call blocked announcement, I've already talked about that. The patches are in 17 and 18. It's sourced in Rel 19. We had a customer request for a updated caller ID on call park, directed park, orbital park retrieval. We'll include that. We had a customer who started to deploy SIP trunks and wanted to, for 911, and wanted to make sure that none of his 911 trunks were blocked if he used up all of his RTUs, for all of the normal pool of RTUs for SIP trunks. So we put in a special category of SIP trunk for 911 that doesn't use the RTUs from the normal pool. So there's no way that you will, if you use up all of your RTUs for normal SIP trunking, you still will have some available for 911 if you have those configured. We're expanding the E164 numbering format to some additional parameters. Again, we continue to get FCC mandates. We will take a look at those and respond as needed. Let's see. This week, I've already gotten 2 requests from customers for content for Rel 19. We'll continue to take a look at those and fit in what we can. Really appreciate y'all's input on that. And I'm going to speak for Greg Goldhammer too. Innovative Systems is certainly open to getting requests for content on the AP Max also. We rely on customers giving us an idea for things that we should include. And Rel 19 will continue to do some interop with the analytics group. We expect that we will start rolling out analytics shortly, and we'll continue to find things that are interesting to do there, and want to do some interop with them. So that said, I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague Rich Krazan, who is manages the analytics product, and let him talk about some of the things that they're doing. Rich?
Great. Hello, thank you, Lee. My name is Rich Krazan. I am the product manager for analytics. So what I'm going to hit a little bit today is we've been working a lot with Lee's team on the analytics aspects of the C15 here. So I will be introducing some of the capabilities with that. Very brief, and I will actually point to you for an actual video demo that you can go offline and take a look at from a webinar we did last week. So the whole point of analytics is about collecting data from your network, elements, Ribbon elements, and third-party elements. For example, we have MS Teams API interfaces also, but it's that ability to provide visibility, agility and changes of what's going on to your network, and automation or feedback back into your network itself. It gives you the ability to stay ahead of outages, fix faster issues, your return on investment can be gained quicker. Look and manage what's going on with your network, whether on the growth or in even transitioning of TDM to SIP or other items such as that. Also, analytics provides a suite of security aspects and applications there, and even looking at ways to look at information coming up to look at the upgrades that are going on within your network. And then obviously one of the key ones is looking at SLAs and QoS information provided by the network itself. Next slide, please. So pictorially, here's kind of how we fit in the picture here with the C15. We can tie in, and analytics does play into the SBC and the C15. We are reading information out of the call history server to analyze the call processing that the C15 is doing. We can then react to that, make reports from that, analyze that capability, and then also push policies down into the SBC itself. Or we can interact and provide even further analysis up to the IDH if you're doing a call trust solution with Ribbon. So there's a lot of capabilities that analytics plays within the deployment aspects of a network with C15. We do also tie into C20s and other aspects of SBCs along with PSXs in the larger network itself. So there's a lot of capability around service assurance, network troubleshooting, and QoS tracking and trending that the analytics solution can provide you, along with fraud and security applications. Next slide, please. Just a couple visuals here on what you can do with the analytics portfolio, looking at call statistics, call volumes, build heat maps, analyze call patterns around dialing, international dialing, area code dialing, even looking at some analysis on your trunk groups and peering scenarios that you're doing with other carriers, or even the 911 reporting. So capabilities in looking at block calls, your stir shaken analysis, and robocalling can all be done with an analytics portfolio plugged into the system. One key thing here is this analytics system is run on your network. This is not a hosted solution capability. This is software that Ribbon provides for you to deploy within your network, that you then manage and maintain the information that is private, obviously, to your subscribers there. Here, some of the out-of-the-box dashboards that you can see, and in this package, you can download the information here. There is a demo of C15 dashboards and analysis done with the analytics system that is available in the link below. Again, that was based upon a November 30th, I believe, webinar that we had done with C15 and fixed network service assurance. Okay, next slide, Lee. So there's other information about some of the capabilities in the portfolio that analytics provide. Here's some download briefs. I think it's part of the webinar here that Lance had put up. And for further information, reach out to the sales team or myself, and we can help you kind of introduce analytics into your rural network or C15 network, whatever it may be. Thank you.
I'll add one thing to what Rich said. I don't think you mentioned this. The data source for analytics from the C15 is our call history server. So the call history server we cache information on every line and trunk call that goes into or out of the C15. And the way analytics works is they pull all that data in and then do the magic with that information. So in order to get analytics, you have to have a call history server.
Yeah, and kind of just adding a little bit to that, Lee, to your point, the call history server is writing everything in PCAP files from all the different, eventually the events that the call, the C15 saw. And what we're doing in analytics is we're pulling that information, and we actually are building CDRs into our database format for the actual calls that are occurring. So if there's some assessment that you want to do in comparison of the billing systems and whatnot, that can be done too. Okay, Lance?
Thanks, Rich. Thanks, Lee. Lee, I did see a few questions come in the Q&A tab there. I don't know if you want to address any of those kind of verbally for the audience.
Sure. I see one here that says, can I upgrade directly from 16 to 18? The answer to that is yes. You can always do, you can skip one release when you're doing an upgrade. If you're coming from 15 and you want to get to 18, that would require a two-step upgrade. You would have to go to 17 and then step up to 18.
Okay. And I saw one there regarding analytics.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we talked about, the question was on the call history server, and the call history server is required for the interactions with the analytics. And then, Lee, there was also one on software availability.
Yeah, so Release 18 is available. Normally when you do, this question is, I haven't received a contact about a software upgrade. You can go to the Ribbon portal and you can schedule an upgrade there yourself. You can always talk to our support guys and they'll direct you for how to do that. Normally, Lisa DeGainer does Ribbon Care renewal for us, and normally when she's doing a renewal, she'll send an email out to folks and say, hey, this next release is available. You can schedule it. But yeah, it is available. You could go to the portal if you want to. All right, Lance?
Very good. All right, well, that's all we have. I thank everyone for joining today. I will be sending out an email later this afternoon. It'll have a link to these slides, as well as a link to the replay of everything you heard today. So if you happen to get that email and watch the replay and you have a question, you can reply to that email, and I'll make sure it gets in the right hands. I did want to mention, too, there's a very brief survey going to pop up as soon as we end here today. Just 2 quick questions. We'd love your participation with that survey. Greatly appreciated. But that's all we have. I want to thank all the presenters today, and of course all of you for attending and interacting, and look, I guess, be on the lookout for the next set of C15 updates coming down the road from Lee and team. Thanks everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you.